Juntos sí podemos cambiar el mundo. Our strength comes from our solidarity across race and social class, standing side by side to address the urgent issues facing our city, knowing that ultimately we're in this together. Our vision is for a London that is truly welcoming and inclusive. Que todo el mundo se sienta bienvenido, no matter where your journey started or how you got here. A London which gives opportunities to all, just like it has to me, una colombiana.
My name is Minal. When I first arrived in London, my new home, I felt shy and shamed. People struggled to understand me. I wanted to learn English, but I didn't know where to find a class.
London has been my home for the past 40 years, but I still do not have my immigration status. I have tried so many times to regularize my status, but it has not been easy. And I feel like life is so difficult. I cannot study, I cannot work. And I am in despair, and I am in limbo.
Hello, I'm Sophia. I sat in a packed train full of people and was harassed simply because I was wearing a headscarf. I was left traumatised. There was nobody to support me. No matter what we look like or where we come from, we should be able to feel safe in our home city.
We are Londoners, and this is our home.
Our home city, London, has always had two stories. One of hostility and division, and one of welcome and collective action.
London is at its best when neighbours stand together to fight for each other. We will not be divided.
At this crucial time, once again, Londoners face a choice between these two stories. We choose welcome. We want the next mayor to
create and launch an up-to-date and staffed website listing English classes across London, so ESOL can be more accessible.
Help Londoners without documents to settle our status by backing our campaigns and committing to a long-term strategy to understand and address our need for high-quality immigration advice.
And to work with us to make hate crime reporting easier and more effective.
Making London live up to the stories of welcome may be hard, but by acting together it's possible.
سوياً نستطيع.
Together we can.
함께라면 우린 할 수 있습니다.
Insieme possiamo.
在一起我们可以 Juntos sí podemos.
একসাথে আমরা পারবো.
Nínú ìṣọ̀kan lápapọ̀ a lè ṣe.
Together we can.
Hello, I'm Avril Pauton-Botan from St Barnabas Church in Walthamstow. I'm also a care home manager. London's two stories are not new. That video was filmed in front of the mural of the Battle of Cable Street, where 75 years ago, Londoners stood against racism and division. Just as they acted together then, we act together today, for a more welcoming and inclusive London. I'm a proud Londoner of Filipino heritage, born and raised in Waltham Forest. The issues we are raising are personal to me and my community. Mr. Khan, will you please come forward? You have 2 minutes to respond to the proposals on ESOL status and hate crime you've just heard, and we'll have a further 2 minutes for follow-up.
Thanks, Albert. It's a pleasure to respond to this. Look, Londoners know my track record over the last 5 years. I began the campaign, London is Open. I was quite clear that many Londoners, I'm afraid, because of the nativist populist movements of some, because of Donald Trump, because of the hostile environment created by this government, many Londoners who were from a different colour were being persecuted and discriminated against. But I'm really proud to say yes, yes, yes to all three of your asks. Look, I'm the child of immigrants. This is personal to me. So I'm the mayor that after 10 years of cuts from the central government has invested record sums in ESOL classes. I'm the mayor after cuts from the government on legal aid has provided legal advice to those who are undocumented, to those who are the victims of the Windrush scandal, and to those Londoners who have got uncertain status to regularise their status. I'm also the mayor who stood up to the government when they've told rough sleeping charities, when they've told NHS staff, when they've told key workers to report to the border's authority, the border force, when somebody has not got documented status, and I've said no. I've made sure every person we help gets that help from City Hall. I'm also quite clear that we need to make sure we build on the progress made over the last 5 years, because there are some who try and scare Londoners to divide us. I've been a mayor who supports Londoners to unite us. Thank you.
Mr.
Oh, big fun, sorry.
Just to clarify, thank you very much. It's so encouraging to hear your words.
Oh, it's a pleasure, a duty.
I just want to clarify, in respect to say that you will be working with us to make hate crime reporting easier and more effective. That's a yes.
Yep.
And then also, we recognise that you've got a commitment to regularising the status of Londoners. We want to just make sure that you've already committed high-quality legal immigration advice.
Yeah, let me give you some examples of that, Avril, because it's really important that Londoners know that I walk the walk. So in the last 5 years alone, we've invested 700,000 to help those Londoners who need our assistance, a separate 20,000 for the Windrush generation, a separate 25,000 to those groups that need our help, and a specific set of money for Justice Together, £310,000. So that's the last 5 years. I want to build on that going forward.
Fantastic. That's exactly what we wanted to hear, that that's not a one-off, that's a long-term commitment. That's a number 2, yes. And then lastly, with respect to the ESOL website, that is going to be amazing for thousands of ESOL learners and providers who've been working hard for that campaign. Just to clarify, that website will be staffed?
Absolutely. It's really important that we have a one-stop shop. Listen, I'm now in charge of adult education. Over the last 10 years, 60% cuts from the government around ESOL. Learning to speak English is really important. It was important for my mum, important for my dad, and it's really important for new arrivals as well. It's a life skill, and it's the ladder that provides social mobility for many Londoners. I want all Londoners to speak the language, particularly those for whom it's not their first language.
Fantastic, Mr. Khan. For the London Citizens members at home, 5,000 of you, you've just heard 3 firm commitments from the first candidate. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Mr. Bailey.
As a youth worker, when my community, I was based in Ledbury Grove, you see a lot of people who were first arrivals, often unaccompanied minors as well. And you very quickly realise that ESOL was going to be very important to them. So we used to work really hard to raise the money to try to get that done. It wasn't as easy as it should have been. So absolutely commit to opening the website, but more importantly, staffing it as well. I think it's really important to make that happen. Of course, in London, we've seen a huge spike in crime, in knife crime, in sexual attacks, and of course, hate crime as well. And I think it's really important to direct the police, to give them the resources to follow these things up, but also to direct them to make sure these cases don't sit uninvestigated, because you need to create a welcoming city, and getting to the bottom of that is very important as well. And the more officers we can have doing this work properly, the better results we will get. When it comes to regularising people, we've got to commit the funding to keep the system going. Actually, I think the funding should be raised, because there's a number of Londoners who are in limbo who need that help. And I'm of the opinion it's cruel to keep people in that situation. Let's help people move forward. I think actually we could take this to Downing Street. We could actually organise and go and meet the former Mayor of London, and let's have a conversation about where he left off. I think this idea of regularising people and giving proper legal support is crucial to comfort in London.
This is fantastic feedback, really encouraging, Mr. Bailey. So we've got 3 firm commitments from you. Mm-hmm. 1 to helping us to work with us to make hate crime reporting easier and more effective. Mm-hmm. That's a yes from you.
Yes.
And also to help to create, launch and staff an up-to-date ESOL website. That's also number 2, yes. And then more significantly, to say that on the record that you are saying that you would help support, regularise the status of Londoners without status. I think it's significant that you say that, because you are the 2nd member of your party outside of the Prime Minister to publicly support this campaign. So
I'd have to add to it, of course, because I am the son of immigrants. I understand the impact that can have in the community. My grandparents are, of course, Windrush. But I also want to talk about what we do about hate crime. It's important that we follow these things up, that we have that extra support. And this is where London citizens can be of real help, because third-party reporting, where people are more comfortable in a safe space and they can come forward, and your organisation can come and make that representation to the police, I think will be a vital link to form in London.
That's fantastic, Mr. Bailey. London Citizens members at home, we've just heard from our 2nd candidate, who has given us 3 big yeses to all 3 of our asks. We've just now concluded the first part of our campaign.